Welcome back, everyone. One of the things I like to do on this channel is teach some foundational concepts in working out and exercise so you understand the why behind what you're doing. So this video, I'm going to cover a super fundamental concept to resistance training that I see a surprising number of people getting wrong. So I'm going to share a couple of videos that I found online of people making this common mistake. I don't know, common, but this foundational mistake. And if you can guess what it is, put it down in the comments. Afterwards, we'll come back in and we'll break down what's wrong and explain this very important concept, super basic, super foundational, that really underlies pretty much all resistance training.
Bien mieux qu'être mal accompagné, pas vrai?
So did you guys catch that? The thing a lot of these videos are getting wrong, and I've seen a lot more videos doing this as well, is they're neglecting the direction of resistance. So what a lot of these people seem to be doing is they're thinking, oh, this muscle does this, so as long as I'm doing this motion or this motion, whichever muscle motion it is, then I'm working that muscle, even if I'm doing it in random angles with resistance coming from whatever direction. But the function or the motion that you're doing, right, of the muscle is only part of the equation. Obviously, you have to be working against resistance, right, to build that muscle strength. It's working against something. So all these things are getting wrong is that they have a motion correct, but they don't have the resistance going in the correct direction. So let's break this down. For example, the bicep, the function of the bicep is elbow flexion, right, which is bending your arm. So if you're doing a motion that goes this way, the resistance needs to go the opposite way. That's why if you're carrying a dumbbell and you curl it up, you're working against that resistance. So the parts of this are, one, understanding the function of the muscle. And when you understand the function of muscle, i.e. what it does in terms of its movement pattern, right? For example, like I just mentioned, elbow flexion for the bicep, or for your pectoralis, horizontal adduction. For your lats, it's pulling your elbow towards your side in different planes. For your tricep, it's elbow extension. Once you understand that function of the muscle, right, then you know what motion or what direction you're moving in which case you want the resistance always going in the opposite direction, so you're working against the resistance. That's the whole point of resistance training, having the muscle work against that resistance to train it to get stronger. So let's break down a couple of common muscle motions and the correct direction of resistance and what some of these videos have gotten wrong. So one of the exercises in the videos was a chest exercise in which they were doing basically chest motions, horizontal adduction, in upright position. Now, some people do it with just their hands. Some people do it carrying bottles or bricks or some kind of implement for resistance. But they're all wrong because if you're moving this way, then you need resistance going the opposite way. So you cannot do an effective chest exercise upright with free weights because the resistance is going down and not opposite of your motion. So the easy way to fix that is just to change your plane. What that means is you don't be upright, you gotta lie down. Now I'm gonna do this on a bench, but you don't have to do it on a bench. You could do it on the floor, although if you're on the floor, you will have less range of motion because your upper arms will hit the ground, but you'll still get some horizontal adduction. So we grab our weights. And now when you perform this exercise, see, we're carrying dumbbells, so that's gravity going downward. And when we push upward, we're now working against that resistance, which means our direction of resistance is now going the proper direction. for the motions we're performing. So you're not going to perform effective chest exercises with free weights upright. And how you determine that is basically understanding what the muscle is doing and having the resistance go in the opposite direction of the motion you're performing. So let's take this concept and apply it to another one of these exercises in these videos. So in the start of the video, this guy was claiming that this was a tricep exercise. Now, functionally, the tricep does extend your arm. That is the function of the tricep. That is, it rotates your forearm around your elbow to straighten out your arm. So this is tricep extension. And in theory, this is tricep extension. What he's getting wrong is that the basic fundamental concept of this whole video is his direction of resistance is wrong. If you're doing this with a dumbbell, he's extending with the weight. Right? So if we're moving this way, that's tricep extension. But when you're carrying a weight, that weight is also pulling you towards extension. So that makes no sense because you're not working against the weight. The weight's helping you, so there's no point in using a weight. That's the same as if I was just standing upright and extending like that and calling that tricep extension, which I have seen someone do in the gym once before. Now the solution for this is to get that resistance going the correct direction. So if you're moving this way, you want resistance going that way. And if you change that angle, and you're moving this way, you want the resistance going that way. So one simple fix is to just hinge at your hip, and you could do kickbacks. So now you're extending this way, upward against the resistance of the dumbbell. I personally don't prefer kickbacks, but it's not a bad exercise. What you could also do is lie down. Now that you're lying down, right, I'm fundamentally doing the exact same thing he was doing. He had his arm in front of him, and he was bending his arm like this and extending it. So I'm still doing that same motion. And my arm is still in the same relative position to my body as his. But because I'm lying down, now the resistance is going that way, which is against my elbow extension, which is a function of my tricep. And now the weight actually makes sense and it's working against the motion. So whatever motion you're doing, the resistance always has to go the opposite way. So this guy was set up at a cable machine, and he had the rope attachment here, and what he was doing is he was doing this. So he was doing a motion that looks like spinal flexion because he's bending his spine, but the resistance is supplied by the cable, so the resistance is pulling him forward. All right. If I'm getting pulled forward, and that's what my muscle is trying to do, trying to pull me that way also, then that resistance isn't working against the muscle at all. It's actually helping me out. It's making it easier. So that means the more weight you load on, the less and less work you'd be doing because it'd just be pulling you up. So that's why it makes zero sense as an ab exercise. If you understand the very fundamental concept of direction of resistance, then he would have known that. All he's really doing is because the weight is pulling him that way and he's going that way, is he's working spinal extension, which is lower back, which would be fine if that's what he stated he was doing. But because he said he was doing an ab exercise, that just tells me that he doesn't understand the basics and doesn't know what he's talking about at all. Now, if you like these breakdowns and me explain these foundational concepts for resistance training, please check out my channel. Please like, subscribe, get it out there. It would help me so much. I'd really appreciate it. I'm just trying to help regular people get in shape from home and cut through a lot of the BS and fluff out there. Now, back to that ab exercise. I was demonstrating it on a cable machine because that's what she was doing in her video. But the tried and true crunch still makes sense. So she's trying to overcomplicate things and trying to create something novel. Not because social media people are always trying to do that, but the crunch is tried and it's classic. And if you break it down, you're curling your spine and you're working against that resistance. So crunch breaks down correctly in terms of movement and angle, direction of resistance. So a crunch is still completely fine. Now, there's a limit to that range of motion because your back hits the ground or the bench or whatever. And it's also limited in terms of progression because you can't really load more weight, which is why I do it on the cable, but not everybody has a cable machine. So a crunch is still biomechanically sound and makes more sense than what she was doing in that video. Now, obviously I haven't covered everything. I was just breaking down a few videos that I saw that got this wrong. I've seen a lot more videos that have gotten the same concept wrong, but with different other muscles, right? And exercises. I'm not sure if I'll be able to find them to edit into this video, so I'm gonna cover these 3 that I know I have. But the concept remains no matter what. Know the function of the muscle, that is what it does, what movement it causes, and have the resistance go in the opposite direction of that movement. And if you see any video of someone creating some novel exercise where they're doing this movement, but the resistance isn't going in the correct direction, i.e. the opposite direction, then they don't know what they're talking about or just making up some crap just to make up crap to create more content for you to click on. So that's the super fundamental concept that basically underpins all resistance training, and that is direction of resistance has to go opposite of the motion you are performing in the exercise. Now, obviously there's isometrics and stabilization as well, but this is really just for actual motions with contractions. So hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe. Otherwise, have a great day, everyone. Catch you guys in the next one.